Thank you, Mr. President. And I thank the Senator from Massachusetts and Senators Whitehouse and Boxer for their great leadership. And we're really appreciative of the senior senator from New York for taking the time to come to the floor and demonstrate his commitment to this issue. There is an incredible opportunity here for American leadership. In Hawaii, in various places across the state, in 1 month, we had 33 record highs in the month of July. And so we all know this is the challenge of our generation. And we all know that the next most important step is the full implementation of the President's Clean Power Plan. And I'd like to make a couple of points about the particulars of the plan. The first is that this is really done well. Normally, regulatory functions can be a blunt instrument. They can be a little less than careful in terms of how they're going to impact economies. But this is done with great precision, with great care, and with great interaction with the incumbent utility companies and distribution and generation companies. And so this is done with enough flexibility to say whatever your mix in terms of energy, we're not going to dictate exactly how you do it at a power plant level, at a county level, at a city level. All we're saying is you have to meet these targets. And if you meet these targets through distributed generation or wind or solar or geothermal or hydro, that's not the federal government's concern. Our concern is that carbon is a pollutant, and that's been determined by the courts, and it's been determined by scientists. And the Clean Air Act requires that airborne pollutants are regulated. And so we're simply going to tell every state this, like all other pollutants, have to be reduced over time. And I think the EPA took great pains to make sure that this was done in such a way that wouldn't cause too much upheaval in the economy. This is legally sound. There's just no question about it that the EPA doesn't just have the authority, the discretion to move forward with carbon pollution regulations, but they're actually required to under the last Supreme Court decision. And it is doable. Hawaii has a 100% clean energy goal. The Northeast has its RGGI program. California has a cap and trade program, and all of our economies continue to grow. It's not that individuals and companies don't continue to have their challenges, but it's not because of our leaning forward into clean energy. And I want to make one point about the kind of layering of obstruction. The first layer, which I think we've been successful in the last 6 months of breaking through, is this whole, I'm not sure whether or not climate change is real. And then they sort of pivoted to, well, I'm not a scientist, so I don't think that's going to last for very long, but I think the next layer of obstruction is going to be, I think climate change is real. I'm not sure what percentage of climate change is caused by humans and how much of it is naturally occurring. I think we will be able to punch through that opposition. But the next layer of opposition will be this. America should wait. They will tell us that America should not lead in this space, that we should wait for China, that we should wait for India, that we should wait for Germany, that we should wait for Japan. And let me just ask this question. Since when does the United States wait for other countries to lead? This is the challenge of our generation, and it strikes me as preposterous that anybody who believes in American leadership would be willing to say, let's see what other countries do about this problem first. Why don't we give this a few years? We don't have a few years. This is an incredible opportunity for America to display the leadership that it has always displayed in the international community. We finally have the high ground going into the Paris discussions. We are on legally sound ground. We are on morally sound ground. And I think politically, we are increasingly on sound ground. And so I'm in full support of the President's Clean Power Plan. And the one thing that causes me great dismay, and I think causes some of the other participants in this colloquy display, is we're not even having a debate. This is the Democrats asking for you to come down to the floor and disagree with us, disagree with the President, disagree with Gina McCarthy, tell Sheldon and myself that our bill is a piece of garbage and this is what should be done instead. But let's have the great debate in the world's greatest deliberative body. Right now, it's entirely one-sided, and if we're going to display American leadership, we need some Republican leadership as well.
Would the senator yield for a question? I don't know if the senator is aware of this, but I do know Senators Whitehouse and Markey know this because they serve with me on the Environment and Public Works Committee. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, the Republicans on the Environment and Public Works Committee are going to put forward 2 bills, and they expect to pass them. One would stop the president's Clean Power Plan in its tracks without putting anything in its stead to replace it. As a matter of fact, putting up obstacles, as I understand it, to any other plan. So it would stop it in its tracks, and it would set up huge obstacles for another rule. And the other one would say that if you spray pesticides on bodies of water, and the pesticides get into the water, that spraying should be exempted from the Clean Water Act. I mean, it pains me to say that this is coming from the Environment Committee. Why don't they just rename it the Anti-Environment Committee when they're in charge? Because every week, every day on the environment, they go in the wrong direction for our children and our grandchildren. I know my friend has young children, I have young grandchildren. And isn't it a shame that at the moment in time when the Environment and Public Works Committee, and they did a great job, we did a great job, all of us on transportation, we had a 20-0 vote, and we're so proud of it. But on the environment, we are split down the middle with Republicans trying to stop the Clean Power Act, stop the advances in fighting climate, stop the ability of regulators to protect the waters from pesticide spraying. Isn't it just shameful that this is happening tomorrow as we talk tonight about this issue?
Through the chair, and I understand the time for the colloquy is about to expire, I'll just respond to the senator from California, if there's no objection. I'd just like to say the following, which is that we really do need Republican leadership here. And the Republican Party, prior to about 10 years ago, had a long history and an august history of working with Democrats to protect our air and our water. And we are all sincerely hoping that we can get back to that place. I yield the floor.